Okay, well, the forecast is showing that we've got rain coming in. Obviously, once we have concrete, we can work through just about anything. But if we get washed out before we get concrete in here, it's gonna push the whole schedule out. So, what do you think?
I think we have a really nice Gantt chart that does not have any rain scheduled on it.
For the last 2 weeks, Zain's crew has been clearing away the rubble from the site and preparing for the new foundation. Early tomorrow morning, there will be a fleet of concrete trucks lined up to deliver roughly 340 yards of concrete. And tonight is the deadline to set the rebar for the foundation. We've got all hands on deck.
So we got a perimeter footer, and then we have one extra footer down the center. We've got multiple steps here, and then this whole slab down here will have a CMU wall around the exterior with I-beams and pan deck and another concrete slab on top.
All right.
And then we'll be all one level and ready to frame the walls after that. All of these pieces of rebar here that are tied in rectangular 40-foot long beams, we pre-tied them all up in the parking lot the other night, and then we put them on our shoulders, walked them down here, dropped them in, and the whole mat was also pre-tied. So 80% of this is already tied, and we're actually just gonna walk it in and drop it down on top of everything that's here. So there's actually 20 tons of rebar in this first pour. We knew the engineer we were going with, he was gonna make sure it was sound. Yeah. We knew ahead of time, but they really worked with us to get plans turned around in a very quick amount of time. So it was kind of a trade-off. We know they're gonna over-engineer just a little bit, but it's okay. We'll save ourselves time. So
it doesn't look like you guys have wasted any time. Did you guys lose any time with the rain last week? Because I mean, we got rained out.
Closed the cabs on the machines and kept digging? Rolling. Looks like we got 2 weeks of clear weather if we can get past tomorrow morning.
Should we jump in there and take a look?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it.
What's your sip?
This is definitely gonna be a solid foundation. 15 days from today, we're gonna start framing.
We'll have this poured by the 28th of February, the second layer, and we'll be framing here on the joist system that same weekend. This is not a very complicated framing process on the floor here, so, you know, weather permitting, 4 days, we could be laying standing walls. So the logs and the walls hopefully will be, you'll see something by the 8th of March.
Man,
standing here.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's gonna feel real once we go three dimensions.
Really, these next 15 days are gonna be intense.
Well, it's looking good. I'm gonna have to talk to some of these guys that are doing the crafts, because we're gonna actually have to have stuff to put in the building. And at the rate you guys are moving, I'm starting to get worried they won't be ready.
Okay.
You're staying ahead of it, and this is great. We've got an incredible crew. It seems like morale is high. And honestly, I can't believe that you got this many guys showing up.
Yes, sir. So, just a couple of texts and phone calls, and everybody showed up.
This is great. We got a great team.
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks, Zain. I'll let you get back to it. So from an architectural and engineering standpoint, the first push was on the foundation. We had to get that right, and we knew that we needed to begin work on that right away. Once that was underway and beginning to happen, we knew that we really had to get down and actually start putting stuff down on paper. What exactly is the form that this building is going to take?
I wanted people to walk up and recognize the cafe. So I wanted it to be similar enough in its proportions and its layout that while it was scaled larger, it still resembled the same building.
And essentially what we did is we created the same traditional log cabin outline, but we kind of supersized it and made a few changes to the design so that everything would be proportional.
We knew that we wanted a dog trot. We wanted to resemble the overall exterior proportions of the old building, but we said, well, we still have to incorporate some kind of homage to the past. And so we said, well, let's make the dog trot and those interior walls, the whole dog trot, all the walls of the dog trot, we will do with the original cedar logs. And that will help anchor the new build in the style and design language of the original build. Just like the old cafe, we wanted basically a 2-pin cabin with a main dog trot down the middle. Everything was just going to be significantly scaled up.
We weren't just constructing a building. We were also constructing the furnishing that were going to go inside, the hardware and fixtures that were going in there, and all of that had to happen simultaneous to the construction. Thankfully, we had an entire team of craftsmen here in the craft village who were going to take those individual scopes on and produce the very things that we were going to need.
Our community artisans began to step forward and offer their support. How can we help? And so a commitment that I had from the very beginning was that the finishings and the fixtures of the cafe were going to prove at least as important as the structure itself. I asked Tim Ans if he would oversee and help interface with me on all of the fixtures that we were going to have to custom make.
So over the years growing up here in the community, I had an opportunity to be in a lot of the craft shops. So I did pottery for around a year. I did blacksmithing for about 2 years. I did an apprenticeship in the wood shop for 2 years and then worked making custom furniture for another 4 years. All those custom pieces would start with a sketch. So a customer would walk in the door, whether they were touring the craft village and stopped in and had an inspiration based off of what they saw there or whatever it was. You would start with a sketch and then you would complete the piece and deliver it.
It's an incredible privilege as a designer to be working on a team with the kinds of craftsmen and women that we have, where you can literally hand over maybe a few thoughts and ideas. They can then take the medium that they specialize in and produce samples that you can then tweak a little bit, because you've got maybe the broader picture of what's going on and seeing how their piece is going to interrelate with the other piece. But really most of the work, the real hard part of the designing, really was done by the craftsmen themselves.
My role was to communicate with the design team and try to grasp the overall direction and vision for the project, and then to disseminate that information into the appropriate spheres of the different craftsmen, and to collaborate with them to come up with ideas and refine the design and then pass that back up so that hopefully in the end, all the various pieces would come together in a cohesive manner.
So I'm talking about, we were going to custom make the tables, we were going to custom make the chairs, the light fixtures over the tables, the upholstery in the booths. All the booths were going to be done with through joinery, hardwood, furniture style craftsmanship. The baskets that the bread came in, they were all going to be made right here at Homestead Heritage in the craft village and the craft shops. We wanted the cafe to be the place where their art went on display.
At the forge at Homestead Heritage, Caleb Nolan, a master of metalworks, uses fire, tongs, and a hammer to create fine tools such as axes and knives, as well as architectural elements like chandeliers and railings. Today, Tim Ans stops by the forge to collaborate with Caleb on a design for a grand chandelier that will illuminate the reception area of the new Cafe Homestead.
Afternoon.
How's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
Good to see you. You mind if I interrupt you and we take a minute to look at that chandelier we talked about for the new cafe?
Show you what I've kind of drawn up here.
That'd be great. Kind of the theme for this light is it's a bush type concept where it's just a little bit of irregularity, but obviously some repetition. And
So we're talking about 7 feet
diameter.
Yes, sir. So that's this. We got 13 on the outside, 9 on the center, and 5 on this middle one.
So all uneven numbers. What is the height, say, from right here to this top?
So from the bottom of the finial to the top of this here is 60 inches.
So
5 feet.
5 feet.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could do some type of a little more of a fluid pattern there on that. If it was something more like even just a slight, something along the lines of that with a band. What were you picturing? Like, what would that be? Just a couple shafts of iron, just curved, or?
Well, I was picturing kind of a, like 2 spun copper pieces.
Oh, okay.
I
could see that, because you could even just have this same concept I just did, mirrored, and then butted together to create the same repetition and design. Okay. Could we also create a travel of the curve a little bit farther. I think something like that is kind of a little more of the effect we want. Okay. Or it just has more of a gradual, and then if that even means this has to register a little higher, that's fine, maybe about right here.
Okay.
Where it has more of just a gradual slope up. Other than that, I love the overall concept. I think we should be ready to start.
Not too soon.
It's going to be beautiful. Thank you.
All right.
Along the banks of the Monocacy River in Maryland, a timber-framed barn stands as a silent witness to centuries past. Its time-worn beams, weathered by history, hold stories of resilience and transformation. It is rare to find a timber frame from the mid-19th century that has not been adapted at some point in its lifetime. Barns were always built with a specific purpose in mind. As the family grew and its needs evolved, and then later, as technology permanently changed the time-tested farming methods, the barn would be modified to accommodate those changes. This beautiful frame is no exception.
Aha!
Wow.
What a beautiful barn. A real hay barn, you know, and down below, there's got to be a below to it underneath where you kept your cattle down under there. And we're looking for beams, right?
That's exactly what we're looking for.
So we're not going to put this exactly back together like a barn.
We're hoping to actually use both the rafters and even some of the sill timbers in some of the framing elements in the new cafe.
And we haven't even looked inside of it.
Should we do it?
Let's go. It's like opening a Christmas present. A big one. Aha!
Wow. This is not a sawn barn.
No, it's not.
This might be a lot earlier than we thought.
Yep.
Wow.
Much earlier. Look at the hewing, like the few sawn parts, like these braces and things, but
Sure.
hand hewn so smooth that you would think it was sawn.
In each dining room of the cafe, one on the left, one on the right, we're going to need big timbers that run the full length.
You got them.
Okay.
You've got them and more.
Wow.
Looks like maybe oak and some chestnut in here, like this is chestnut here. Red oak. Really real bottomland wood, you know, along the river, big huge trees cut. So smooth, it's smooth with a slick. Now this is sawn, but let's look at how it's sawn. Oh look, you know, you can just see the lines, see the straight lines here?
Yes.
Now if they were the arced lines of a circular saw in here, that was invented in 1835. So it's not, so this is earlier, this is chestnut. Chestnut was, and it's a beautiful wood, of course it's no more, it all died in a blight in the 20th century.
And look at that, we've got marriage marks.
Oh, where's that?
We got a VIII, if I'm not mistaken, is 8.
You're not mistaken.
I had to use my fingers for that, but I got it.
So this is placing this whole homestead before 1800.
And then you've got this. You got this right here.
Okay. That's it, that's a clincher, what is that?
This wasn't original here, was it? This was an old rafter
That's an old rafter, but look, this thing was laid like this.
for a high collar tie.
High collar tie, dovetailed and trunneled. And then look, this gives it away here too. What have we got? We've got old nail holes in here. This was the back side of it where they nailed on the boards to put shingles on. So this, sure enough, is a rafter. So someone came here and found a spring on the river, carved out their initial little homestead in the early 1700s with a log cabin. That when they came to build this big barn, late 1700s, we're guessing, that they dismantled their log barn. And we see these are, there's another one over there.
Sure enough.
These are rafters from that early log cabin. We'd have to date this and then date the other parts of this barn. Let we
That'd be
know.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, we've got 2 dates going on here. Very, very interesting. So maybe very early 1800s, and yet marriage marked, and yet timbers of an earlier building. And it's hand hewn, but it's also sawn parts. So there's a lot of things going on here, but 2 different buildings.
So really what they did is they took an original building that they didn't need.
Yes.
They repurposed the wood to create the barn that we're standing in.
Yes.
And now we're going to take this down. We're going to take it to Central Texas.
And
we're going to do the same thing again.
Repurpose it.
Just now for Cafe Homestead.
Yep. Goes on to its 3rd iteration.
It is. Should we go downstairs and see if this thing's going to hold us up?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We got a staircase over here. Should we use it?
Sure, you go first.
All right, let's see what happens.
So this is where the draft horses were, in this part of the barn. Of course, it's changed. It's all, you have the additions of centuries here. Changed around. You know, they had to adjust. There was these huge changes taking place in economy. And the idea of a market economy hit after this barn was built, in which farmers started thinking, I have got to grow a cash crop. And to do that, I ought to specialize. I ought to just milk. Why don't we build another barn just for cows to milk? Because we've got to sell our milk to make cash. That was not thought of when this barn was first built. They were very diverse. They had cattle, they had beef cattle, they had milk cows, they had probably raising wheat. They had all these many different diverse crops, which very much insulated them from economic ups and downs in a market economy. They then adapted to a market economy by specializing in milking. It was the industrialization of agriculture that took place, and this barn was constantly adjusting to that industrialization, because you know, even up till 1950, half the farms in America were draft animals.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
up till 1950.
1950.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and what brought the change was World War II. You know, at the end of the war, you've got these massive factories churning out armaments, and we're going to do something with them. We're going to unemploy everybody. How about, you know what we're going to make is tractors. Let's make tractors and replace all those horses, and that's what happened. The average farm, when this was homesteaded in the 1700s, a family comes in here and they're settlers and they're homesteading this in the 1700s, 50, 60 acres, a sustainable farm. Boy, after, 2 centuries later, they're farming thousands of acres. And this tells the story of it all. What a story.
It is.
Of recycling, reusing. Wow.
And we're going to do it again.
We're doing it again.
We're literally doing exactly what they did.
Yeah.
We're going to take it and we're going to reuse it.
Yep. The story goes on.
As the team in Maryland carefully preserves each piece of history to join its story to the rebuilding of Cafe Homestead, the team back in Waco is making good time taking the new building vertical. Dry stacking cinder blocks for the basement, then covering that with pan deck, decking the floors, raising the walls, setting the roof trusses, and finally, installing historic timbers straight off the truck from Maryland.
How's it going?
Good, and you?
Good.
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I recognize some of these beams. This is, 10 or 12 days ago? These things were in Maryland.
That's right.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Wow.
And those top plates, Those mortises are actually our original as well.
Seriously?
The post location was within 2 inches of what our original plans were.
Okay, so you're saying where this post goes up and joins with that top plate
That
was
is an
within 2
original
inches
mortise.
of where we wanted it.
And we designed this without having any idea what was in that timber frame.
That's amazing. I love it when stuff works.
And then we just added the double brace for effect there and symmetry and such, but
That's
other than that,
fantastic.
it's original. We're only 38 days into the project from the time that we showed up to first start the cleanup and salvage what we could out of the burnt logs and such of the ruins that
So
were
we're
here.
barely over a month from the time that we started with rubble
Yes, sir.
to cleaning it up, doing all of the dirt work, getting all the steel in the ground, pouring concrete, going vertical,
Drafting plans, engineering the foundation.
taking
It's-
down a barn, restoring that barn, shipping it here.
That's right. 38 days today. You really should take a
Duly
little
impressed.
loop around outside too and just see. And
Well, let's look
underneath
around.
in
Show
the
me-
foundation there, it's pretty.
show me what
pretty
we need to see.
impressive. Okay.
Front doors are going to be right over here. We're going to walk through the center, and this is going to be retail, that sort of a thing. So coming through here, we're going to walk into the hallway, right?
Correct. So in this hallway, the public has access to the public restrooms.
Okay, so that's down this way.
Yes, sir. And then the kitchen would be immediately here to your left. So we're going into the kitchen now. There's going to be walk-in cooler and freezer over there. This is going to be a drink and dessert alley. This is the area for the dish room. So
Okay.
the dishwasher, and then stepping out, we'll into the main area here where the main cook lines, the 2 main cook lines here are in the center, but this is the majority of the kitchen is going to be in this area. There's also going to be a very large window right here. I believe it's 17 feet long, where you can see everything that's going on in the kitchen. You can see who's cooking your food and how they're
Wow.
doing it. So
People love that.
yes.
Wow. Okay, this is a substantially bigger space. You know, now that it's going up in 3 dimensions, there's something
Yes.
about looking at it 2D and it's hard to get a sense for scale. Should we look downstairs?
Sure. I
right.
actually have a staircase.
No way.
Yeah. Don't have to do a tipsy ladder anymore.
So really, we've got a huge space down here.
Yes. Watch your head.
Wow.
The framed wall here, there will
Okay.
be openings framed into it and just
Okay. This is not just strictly for foundation. Obviously, this space is usable
Very
space,
useful.
right?
Yes.
So dry goods storage.
there'll be a dumbwaiter, of 3 levels. The dumbwaiter will be serving, and so the first level will be technically the basement, in which you can load that up and bring
Oh yeah.
dry goods and
so
stuff up if you need.
We'll be getting deliveries and such, so some of that stuff will enter in right here, right? Okay, so when it comes in, if they need to get something upstairs or to the top floor, they're not having to shoulder it up there.
And walking up the staircase that the public is using as well for those upstairs dining areas, it'll actually
That's
be able to go
perfect.
all 3 levels to the top.
All right. Let's see, moving forward, coming into, say, the next 30 days, what do we have to accomplish?
So the next 30 days, when we started framing last Saturday, we were actually 4 days ahead of our Gantt chart.
All right.
That has actually not been edited one time yet. So
Okay.
we're just trying to stick to it. But so once we got into the framing phase, we know we started 4 days ahead. But now we've got about a 30-day space in which there's going to be a lot that's going to be starting. Currently, the project has been waiting all on foundation and framing. As soon as it's plus minus dried in, we can actually start the mechanical roughing. The roofers can be working on the roof, the masons can be on the outside, we can be installing windows, so a lot more momentum and
gonna be a beehive.
different scopes can start to
Oh, yeah.
start their process. So
Okay, so all things created equal, 30 days from now, where do you want to be?
I want to be 4 days ahead.
Zain's team seems to be making good progress, but the building isn't even dried in yet, and we're only 12 weeks away from the scheduled completion date. By all standards, June 5th is an impossible deadline. The challenge is not just the ticking clock. The spirit of community and creativity must work together. As the project continues, these artisans are shaping not just wood and metal, but also a story of friendship and rebirth.
So we've got 45 days left, I believe, from today, which does not seem or feel possible to be complete. Just if I were just to say yes or no, I would definitely lean towards no. We're We're well past halfway point, and the pressure's just been day in, day out. It hasn't let up. A three-phase power, it's coming from a quarter mile away. We're having to clear paths through the woods. The millworks is going to be definitely a big item, and it's going to take a lot of man hours. All the wood flooring, hardwood flooring that we have to lay, the wainscoting, and then the paint and finishing of all those surfaces is also a very large task.
Do you think you're going to make it?
I don't.